We're in the Bavli Maseches Gittin on the Mishna on Daf Samach Vav Amud Aleph. If he told two people, give a get to my wife. So he didn't say kisvu usnu, he didn't say to write it, he just said to give it. Nevertheless, they themselves have to sign it.
Right at the very bottom.
They themselves have to sign it because they're not able to appoint. They don't have the koach to appoint anybody else. So even though it's true that he didn't say kisvu, that they have to, he didn't tell them they have to sign it. There's no one else. There's no one else who has the koach to sign it, so they have to be the ones.
Excuse me, are you right at the very bottom of the page, the Mishnah?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So you're.
Yeah, I'll read that again. I'm going to time to get leash. If he told two people to give a get to my wife, or he told three people to write a get and give it to my wife. He made them edim, and therefore they can't appoint anybody else. Even if it's a bezin, he made them edim. Even if it's three people, that's roy, that's fit to be a bezin. He turns them into witnesses. They have to write and give. If he told three people to give a get for my wife, but he didn't say the word kisvu. Because he told three people to give it and he didn't say kisvu, they are considered like a bezdin. Rabbi Meir says he could tell the edim, they could tell other people to sign it. V'zu halacha, hello Rabbi Chanina Ishanim Bebeitz Asurin. This halacha, Rabbi Chanina Ishano got for the prison from Rabbi Akiva. When Rabbi Akiva was in prison, they were still able to visit him, and he learned this halacha from Rabbi Akiva. When the Romans imprisoned him before Loyalenu, he was martyred. I have as a tradition, if you tell three people, he just said tnu, he didn't say kisvu, he said tnu, to give the get to someone, they can appoint another two witnesses to sign, because they're turned into a bezin. Amar Rabbi Yosi said, "Numinu l'shliach afanu mekubalim, shefilu omer lebezin hagadol shushalayim tnu get lisha sheyilmadu v'yichtavu v'yitnu." Even if you told, we told the shliach. In other words, the Chanina became the shliach of Rabbi Akiva to say over this halacha that we don't agree. Even if he told the bezin of Gadol Yushalayim to give this get to my wife, if they don't know how to write, theoretically, let's say they didn't know how to write, they should learn how to write, and they should give it. Obviously, bezin Gadol knows how to write, but he was just saying theoretically, whoever it is, you cannot give it over to somebody else. He disagrees with this. He says if you're three, even if you're three, and you said tanu get lishti, they still have to write it. Let's say he told 10 people to write and give a get to my wife. One writes and two signs. But if you use the word kulchem ksayvu, all of you have to write, then one writes and all of them sign.
But I'm sorry, I think you skipped a few lines.
From where? Omer la Sora, or even before that?
Before that.
Okay, I'll start again from Vazu halacha. Hello, Rabbi Chanina Ishonim Bebeitz Asurim. This is the halacha that Rabbi Chanina Ishono got from the prison from Rabbi Akiva when Rabbi Akiva was in prison. It's interesting that the Mishnah doesn't mention it's Rabbi Akiva. I have as a tradition, if someone tells three people to get liishti, to give a get for my wife, so he didn't tell them to write it, he just said to give it, they have the power, they have the ability to appoint, someone else, another two witnesses to write the get. Because they're turned into a bezin. They could tell others to write it. Rabbi Yosi said, we told the shliach of Rabbi Akiva, we also have our own tradition, which is not your tradition. We disagree. Even if you told the bezin hagadol in Yerushalayim, the Sanhedrin, To give a get to my wife that they should learn, they should write, and they should give. Even if you told the Beis Hagadol, they themselves have to write it. They have to learn, and if you don't know how to write, they have to learn how to write. They cannot appoint a person or another two people to write the get or to sign the get. They themselves have to carry it out because they're not considered a bezin. They're considered eidim. They're considered witnesses that they have to carry out the shlichus. They don't have the koyach to appoint somebody else. He wanted them. The husband wanted them. Omer la sora kisvu snu get liishti. If you told 10 people to write and give a get to my wife, echad koisev u'shnayim chaismen. One writes and two sign. Kulchem ksoivu. If he said that all of you should write, echad koisev v'chulam chaismen. Because he used the word kulchem, all of them have to sign. If one of them died, therefore, if one of them died before he had a chance to sign, hareza get bottle, it's going to be nullified. It's going to be bottle. Okay, we're up to the Gemara. It says the Gemara, Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba said,
Yirmiyah.
What?
Right. Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah, is that where we are?
Yeah, by the Gemara.
Right?
Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba, they sent from the yeshiva of Rav to Shmuel. Rabbeinu should teach us. Talking about Shmuel. Omer l'shnayim, if he told two people, kisvu snu get liishti, to write and to give a get for my wife. V'omer l'soifer, they told the soifer to write it, v'kosaf. The soifer wrote it for them, v'chos mahin, but they signed it. Ma'u. So the question is, when the Baal told them kisvu snu, is he only talking about the chsima? Is he only talking about the signature? Or is he also talking about the ksiva, the writing of the get? Shalach lehu teitzei ve'adover tzarach tab. He sent to them. It's not a good get. If she got married with this get, if she got remarried, she got married to someone else with this get, using this get, she has to leave her husband because we don't know if it's a suffix. It's a suffix, and it's not borur. And Rashi explains, says the lashon. We have to learn from those who are greater than us. Im kosher hu im loy, if it's a kosher get or not. What's the suffix? What's the suffix? If the shaila is about the words, if you're able to give over words to shliach, if he could give it to another shliach. In other words, he gave you a shlichus to do something. He didn't give the shliach an object. He gave him words. He said words to the shliach. He said to write and give over the get. So if the shaila is if one shliach could give these words over to another shliach, because he gave him words, he can't give it over to another shliach. So Mamela, if you give a get, if you give an object, if you give a get to shliach, the shliach can give it to another shliach, but words you can't. Shmuel clearly said words you can't give over words to another shliach. If you appointed a shliach to do something, you can't give over that job to another shliach because it's not an object. Rather, the shaila for Shmuel was different. The question of Shmuel was different. When he said ksoivu, what was their shlichus? Was ksoivu ksav yodon their chsima, or is it the ksav haget, the writing of the get? If it was just the chsima, they did the chsima, and the Baal doesn't care if the sofer writes it. That itself was what he said. Get it done. He didn't say they have to do. So the Gemara asks, if that's a shiloh, if ksoivu is their signature, or if it's the writing of the get, the tif shalem masnisin could answer the question from our Mishna. It says in our Mishna, Omer l'shnayim tenu get liishti, or l'shleishik kisu get to snu liishti. If he told two people to give a get to my wife, or three people, even if he said the word kisvu, Still, they themselves have to write it and give it. So the Gemara answers, that's not an answer from the Mishnah. He gufa kama ba'ila. The pshat in the Mishnah lane is our question. When it says ksoivu, that they have to write it in the Mishnah, is it referring to their handwriting, their signature, or is it referring to the ksav get? So the Gemara answers, and for the Gemara, pshita the ksav get to. Obviously, from our Mishnah, it's ksav get, that they have to actually write the get themselves. The Ketani Sefer, it says in the end of the Mishnah, Omer Rabbi Yosi said, "Numinu the shlich." We told the shlich of Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Chanina from Ish Oinai. We told him, "Afonu b'kabalim shafil omer the bezin agodim shivshalayim tnu get the yishish yimudu v'yichtu v'yitnu that we have received that even if he told the bezin agodim Yishalayim to give a get to my wife, that they should learn and write and give it to her. If you're going to say that we're talking about the ksav get, it makes sense that they have to learn how to write it. If you're going to say it's her signature, Mika beidin de layadi mechtam chesimas yadayu. Is it possible to have a bezin that doesn't know how to sign? Bezin knows how to sign. Theoretically, he was saying even bezin agol b'Yerushalayim should learn how to write the get. So if you say we're talking about writing the get, so fine.
But why would they use that lashon? Even the based in Yerushalayim, of course, the based in Yerushalayim knows how to write a get. Like, why would they? It's almost like an insult to the based in Yerushalayim.
It's true. It's a valid question. I guess he was. Suppose he was just saying ad kedei kach to this extent.
If he were doing the ad kedei kach, he would do it even a simple based in of three simple Jews who don't know how to do it. They have to learn.
Saying bezin agol Yerushalayim is the best the Jewish world has to offer. How can we say they don't know how to write a get? It's a good question. I don't know. I don't know the answer. He's saying it b'derech guzma, like in a way of tremendous exaggeration. But even, I guess the Gemara is saying, even a way of tremendous exaggeration has to have a basis in reality. Maybe if you say writing the get, it's not possible, but there's a slimmer of possibility. But you're talking about chesimas, that's mamish impossible. You talk about chesimas, the Gemara says in ikabei din echad tov. Yeah, if it's a brand new bezin that they haven't yet signed any documents, so maybe they don't know how to sign. Okay, also it's very unbelievable. Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah. You want to go in your stroller? Okay, 1 second. Sorry. Okay, so now the Gemara says, so you're going to tell me, if you're going to tell me that theoretically it's possible that the Mishnah could be saying that Ksoiv was Ksav Yodan, it's their signatures. Ksav Haget Kosher, you're going to tell me that Ksav Haget is kosher in the hands of a soifer, that a soifer is allowed to write it. How could you say that? How does it even make sense? Didn't he say that Allah is like Rabbi Yosi? That you can't give over words to another shliach? And for the Gemara, in other words, the fact is, he gave it in their hands. The ganze ksiva, the whole Maisa Haget, everything that has to do with the get, he gave it in their hands, both the writing and the signatures. So even if you're going to say that it's only they have to write their own signatures, how is it even possible? How is it even shaykh for them to give over to a soifer to write it? It's mili lemim from the shliach. The Gemara answers, Amri yisvirulon d'ksoiv ksav yadenu. If we're going to hold that ksoivu, when he says that you have to write it, it's talking about ksav yadan, their signatures. Ksav get nasa koimer imru. Ksav get is as if he told them to tell a soifer. It's as if he himself, as if the Baal doesn't care. So it's as if he told him to say a tell Sefer. Rabbi Yossi is moida that you could give over to another shliach if he told you to. If he said to tell another shliach, you're allowed to tell him. So on that, the Gemara asks, is Rabbi Yossi moida if you say to say over to another shliach? Question is, what's now? The Chayr it says, Kosav Sefer V'Eid kosher. It says that if a Sefer wrote the get and an aid signed, it's kosher. So how does that even make sense? How can you have a get with only one aid? Rabbi Yirmiyah chosam sefer shenina. Rabbi Yirmiyah said chosam that if the scribe signed together with another aid, it's fine. Our Mishnah is Rabbi Yossi who said milid lemimsim l'shliach. So you cannot sign the get unless you heard from the guy, because a shliach can't appoint other people. So obviously, what are we talking about? Rashi explains like this: a person cannot sign the get unless you heard obviously from yourself, because he says, "Ein a shliach cannot tell Eidim to sign a certain get." So we're not worried that the husband didn't command him to sign. That rather he told the shliach to tell the sofer to write it and to other people to sign. We're not worried about that because Rabbi Yossi holds the husband had to have told him directly. In other words, if we wouldn't say like Rabbi Yossi, if we would say mili mimson and l'shliach, so then we would have a chashash that really the husband said that other Eidim should sign and not the Sefer, but the Shliach, the first witness, didn't want to embarrass the Sefer. Oh, the husband doesn't trust the Sefer to sign, so therefore he asked him to sign. So then that would be a real chash that the husband didn't really ask him to sign. It was just because of Busha. But because it's Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yossi says that he has to tell him, Rabbi Yossi says you have to tell him directly, so we're not worried about that. Obviously, the husband told the Sefer directly to sign, so we're not worried about Busha. If you're going to say Rabbi Yossi is moida that you can give over a shlichus, one shlich can give over a shlich to someone else, even with words, there could be a churban that comes out from this. The zim domer l'shnayim. So one time he'll tell two. It could happen that the husband will tell two people. Imru l'sofer v'yichtav. He should tell the sofer to write it. V'lefleini v'yachtavu, and tell so and so to sign it. Umishum kisufa the sofer chayshi. Because they don't want to embarrass the Sefer, one of them will sign together with the Sefer. The husband didn't say that. So it's a raya that Rabbi Yossi doesn't hold that. Rabbi Yossi holds you can't say Imru, Imru loy kosher, because you can't give over, even if he told you to give over these words to someone else, he has to say it himself, according to Rabbi Yossi. Okay, and for the Gemara, it's not we're not choishish. It's not a korban is not going to come out of this. Kiven the Omer Mar kosher v'leitasakin v'Yisrael lo shchiach. Because Mar said later on in the Gemara, you're not supposed to do such a thing. You're not supposed to tell the sefer to write it and to two other witnesses to sign. That's fine. It's kosher, but it's not. You shouldn't do it. So it's not shchiach. So we're not going to make it go gzeiro. Yeah. Okay, so now the Gemara has another question. Rashi points out Shmuel doesn't hold of what Rabbi Yirmiyah says. Rabbi Yirmiyah says chosam sefer. We're talking about chosam sefer that the sefer signed it. Later on in Daf Samach Zayin on Daf Pevov, in Daf Pevov, it's he says that you could say that we're talking about ksivas hasofer and chsimas haid. That will count. That's enough to make a get kosher. Ksivas hasofer and chsimas haid. Okay, but even according to Rabbi Yirmiyah, you could say that you're allowed to give over the shlichus, but we're not worried that he told the sofer to sign it, even though he wasn't supposed to, because the husband is not supposed to tell the sofer. He's not supposed to leave the sofer out. You're supposed to have the sofer sign.
Did you say that again? The husband's supposed to sign instead of the
Well, the
sofer?
husband's not supposed to tell two other people to sign besides to the sofer.
Oh.
So because of that, we're not worried that happened with the whole story of the embarrassment.
Oh.
So now the Gemara asks another question. Today, we should be worried that maybe he told two people. Maybe he told two witnesses to tell the sofer to write and then you sign. Instead they had the sofer sign, and instead of one of them, and the husband didn't say this.
Why can't he tell the sofer to sign?
The husband never appointed him. He could. The husband should. But the problem is, let's say he didn't. So until now, we answered, okay, let's say he told one shliach. Let's say he told a shliach. It's not common because you're not supposed to tell a shliach to leave out the sofer. But what if he told two people? That's not a problem. If he told two people to tell the sofer to write it and they're going to sign. To tell one shliach to appoint another two people and the sofer, that's a problem. But what if he told two people? That's not a problem. And for the Gemara, this is also a problem. You're not supposed to do this. So because they're not supposed to do this, we're not worried that they changed the Baal's words and had the sofer sign. Says the Gemara, it makes sense according to opinion that it's something you shouldn't do. But according to opinion that you're allowed to do this, you're allowed to tell two people to sign and then tell a sofer to write it. What are we going to say? Hello, Rabbi Yossi Tarti Amar. Rather, Rabbi Yossi holds in both cases it's forbidden. You can't tell if you told three people to know, or you said tell so and so to write it. It's also puzzle. According to Rabbi Yossi, it's a psul. It's puzzle. And according to the way we're going to explain, we don't hold like him in that din. We do hold you could say imru. We do hold you could give it over. You could give over ksava sefer, kosava sefer to someone else. It's possible. Shmuel will hold like him in one, and he'll argue like him in the other case. So the Gemara goes on and says like this. Gufa, we just said, Amar Shmuel, Amar Rebbe, Halacha Kerab Yosi, the Omar, Mile Lemimsim L'Shliach. Shmuel said in the name of Rebbe that Halacha is like Rabbi Yosi who holds that Mile Lemimsim L'Shliach. Amar the father of Reb Shimon bar Rebbe, Machash Reb Meir, Reb Chanina Ish Eine Cholken Reb Yosi Mara Rebbe Lemar Halacha Reb Yosi. We have a machlokes between Rabbi Meir and Chanina Ish Eine. They both disagree, right? Because we had the first part of the Mishnah, the Tanakama held that if it's a bezdin, if he told Shloisha Tanu get Lishli, they are able to give it over. And Reb Chanina holds in the name of Kiva that you are able to give it over. Rabbi Yosi holds you're not. So the question is, why not? Why are we going to say the halachas of Rabbi Yossi over Reb Meir and Rabbi Akiva? Ma'ara Rabbi Lemer halachas Rabbi Yossi. Amar loy shasoik b'ni shasoik. He told him, "You should be quiet, my son. Be quiet." So this was Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, he said. Why? You never saw Rabbi Yasi. If you would have seen him, you would have seen he always has his reasonings with him. Tom, everything that he had was rock solid iron. Everything made sense. Allah was always like Rabbi Yasi.
Hmm.
So the Gemara says, the Tanya, it says in the Bryce, he would Isa ben Yehuda would count the praise of the Chacham. Rabbi Meir is a Chacham v'Sofer. Rabbi Meir was a wise person and he was a Sofer. It's very interesting. I was learning a Sikha. Actually, the Medrash says, I forgot where. Rabbi Meir's Sefer Torah had two places where it was different. Kosnes where it talks about how Adam and Chava had special Kosnes He spelled it instead of with an I, and he spelled it with an aleph because his whole thing was light. And there was another place, I think, I forgot. But the Rebbe says, even though he himself, his own Sefer Torah was written differently, it's hard to understand how that's possible. He would, because he was a sofer, when he would write Sefer Torah for other people, he read it on there for them, like with the regular spelling of Kosnisar. I don't understand that. So going on, sorry. Isa ben Yehuda was a chacham and a sofer. Reb Yehuda was a chacham l'chshi yirtza. When he wanted to be Moser and Miyushav, he was a chacham. That's interesting. Reb Tarfon Gal Shalagoizim. Sorry, I'm not keeping my phone straight. Rabbi Tarfon was a Gal Shalagoizim. So just like a Gal Shalagoizim, if you take one for a pile of nuts, you take one of them, they fall in each other. So to Reb Talman, if somebody would ask him a question, he would pile up rayas from all over Torah. From Mikra, Mishna, Medrash, and so on. Rashi says, Mikra, Medrash, Mishna, Halacha, Agoda, everything together. Reb Tarfon will give him a ganze, everything you need. Rabbi Shmuel Chanus Miyuzenes. He was like a store with the wine ready. The storekeeper never had to tell the buyers, wait and I'll bring it to you. So he always had an answer. Everything was always ready for Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Kiva was Oitzer Balam. For example, the example given, Rashi quotes from Avizar of Nassan. He says like this. I guess I'll read the Rashi inside. Oitzer Balam. The Mahayi Rabbi Kiva doima. What was Rabbi Kiva comparable to? A poor person takes his box and goes to a field. He found barley, cuts it, and he puts it in. So do with wheat. Beans, and lentils. When he comes home, he takes every type for himself. When Rabbi Kiva learned from his masters, he learned the pasuk from his masters. Afterwards halacha, then medrash rachav agoda. He paid attention. He made sure to review and to learn them until until they were set up in his mouth. He didn't say, I'm going to learn pasuk for itself, the medrash for itself. Also, kola teda matbeis matbeis. Sidr medrash sifri v'sifra levadan v'shana la'atzma tamidov. He was misader everything properly. Everything came from Rabbi Akiva, from his students, Rabbi Akiva and his students. Everything we have, Torah Shabbat Peh. V'shana la'atzma tamidov alochas atzma god atzma v'nira be'inai itzabam soger masgedes levad mechitzes mechitzes. He was able to put it in order. Which is a box with different compartments for wheat on one side and barley on the other side. A doshim mikan kamay piv bolum beragmu v'los b'cheres, and he brings a rye from b'cheres. Very interesting. Rabbi Yechon ben Nuri was kupas haroichlin.
What does the word bolum mean?
It seems like Rashi is saying orderly. No, maybe not. Soger masgedes levadan mechitzas mechitzas. Closed with order. I'm not sure exactly how that translates into piv bolam mishnah b'cheres. I'm not sure. That's the way he says it. Soger masgedes levadan mechitzas mechitzas. Close with an order. I'm not sure how that translates into the mouth. Kupas aroichlin. A roichel is like a person who's like a peddler. Just like a peddler, when he comes to the city, they ask him if he has different types of spices, and he says yes. So too, whatever a person had to ask, he would answer. So the answer, it's different than Rabbi Kiva. Rabbi Kiva learned everything mixed up, and then he ordered it. He made it into an order himself. This is just saying he's answering you properly. Okay. It's hard to understand exactly the chiddush of each one and the other. The next one is Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah Kupa Shel B'Samit. Fragrant spices. I guess it's not as much as Kupas Aroichlin. Kupa Shel B'Samit is not as much, as many types. Okay. Mishnas Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov Kavanaki. He didn't teach a lot like his Chavedim, but whatever he said was right. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. Halachas always like him, says Rashi. Rabbi Yossi Nimuki Imoi. Rabbi Yossi always had his reasons, like we already said. Rabbi Shimon Toichin Harba Moitzi Kimo. He learned a lot and he'd explain a little bit. Tana Mashkach Kimo Masha Moitzi Moitzi Lesupin. He would forget a little bit, but what he would forget, says Rashi, would be the things that the Halacha is not like. My sons, this is Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, I think. He would say like this: Shonu midoisai, learn my Torahs. Shemidoisai trumas mitrumas midesha v'kiva. I refined. It's the most refined from all the teachings of Rabbi Kiva. So he would purposely like leave out the things that were subin. Kufa, we just said, if he told the Sefer, he told two people to tell the Sefer, and that he should write, and that so and so should sign. Rav Huna said it's kosher, but it shouldn't be done. So what's the reason why not? Maybe the wife will do the same thing. Maybe she'll hire the yid and the wife. Are we worried about such a thing? Because they know the chesimas are not worried that it's sheker, that it's false. And for the Gemara, she herself won't go ahead with it, but the Burakam are worried that she's going to tell other people to do it, and they're going to think, tell other people to tell the witnesses. And they're going to think it came from the husband. So you shouldn't tell other people to sign. Maybe if the husband tells they themselves to sign, fine, but don't tell them to tell other people to sign. That's what shouldn't be done. You shouldn't tell them to tell others. Okay, but what if he told they themselves to sign? Then you shouldn't have a problem. What if he said you yourself should sign? It still says leitas, you shouldn't do it. However, why not? It's exeda, says Rashi. Exeda ha tu ha. Because you shouldn't do the case of telling two other people to sign, telling them to tell two other people to sign. You also shouldn't tell them to sign, to tell the sefer and tell them to sign. Rab Amar kosher v'leisas or Reis Amar kosher v'sas. Sorry, I think I skipped. Chist Amar kosher v'leisas. Rab Amar Chan Amar kosher v'tas. Rav Nachman Amar kosher v'leisas. Sheshus Amar kosher v'tas. Rab Amar kosher v'leisas. Reis Amar kosher v'sas. So we have big machlokes here. There are people who change around the order.
Did he go through the Rishonim?
No,
We're not. I don't. We're finishing the Perek.
He's still in classes.
Homer Lasora Kiss will get if he told 10 people to write a get and give it to my wife. So only one of them actually has to write it, but all of them have to sign. One writes for all of them. But if you said Kulchem Ksoivu, what do you have to do? How do you have 10 people writing it? One of them will write it in front of all of them. Bring this get from my wife. One will bring it through all of them, for all of them. But if he said, if he said Kulchem all of you have to bring it. One of them have to bring it with all of them. They all have to go together. Mono Isa and Mao. He didn't say Kulchem, but he counted them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's two ways of looking at it. Maybe he meant all of you, or because he didn't say Kulchem, he didn't say all of you. Maybe they don't all have to do it. So the answer is Rafuna says it's not like all of you. Mana is, if he counts them, it is like all of them. If he counted all of them, if he counted all of them, one is talking about if he counted all of them, and one is talking about if he counted only some of them. So some people say if he counted all of them, that means he's coupled, but just a few of them means he doesn't care. He just meant 2 of you. And other people say the other way. If he's counted a few of them, that means he means dafka them. But if he counted all of them, it means he doesn't care. It's 2 ways of looking at it. Asking review the begita the kulchem ksoivu. Begita the kulchem. Review that was, if a person said in front of a lot of people, and we're choishish that he said look to all of them, and that we're worried that they're not all going to sign. So he said, what was he misakin? Soivu oy kulchem oy kol chad b'chad min choyin chasoymu oy kulchem oy kol trei min choyin oy vilu. So he said that you should write into the get. This is what he said. Soivu oy kulchem. That he told us to write or all of them. Oy kol chad min choyin kulchen. So if it's kulchen, if he said kulchem, he established that you have to write oy kulchen oy kol chad v'chad min choyin chasoymu. We teach the husband to say this. You teach the husband to say either to say or all of you, or each one of you could sign. All of you should bring it, or just 2 of you. He's going to say kulchem and he's not going to add on kol chad min choyin. So then it's going to be possible if they don't all do it. So if he says kulchem oy kol chad min choyin, he gives all the options. It's not going to be possible. Or kulchem or kol trei min choyin. But what if he only says kulchem? So how is it going to help to tell him to say kulchem or all of you or every one of you? What if he just says kulchem and then the get is going to be possible? All of you should write it. 2 of you, each 2 of you should sign to bring only one of you. And then he's not just going to say kulchem. Don't say kulchem. We teach him not to say it. We don't say kulchem plus say kol chad min. We tell him not to say kulchem at all. And if he's not going to say kulchem at all, then we're not going to come into that problem. Hadun aloch ha'omer. So according to the Shita that he can't tell two people to tell the Sefer to write it and then to sign it, I guess he has to tell the Sefer also. The husband has to tell the Sefer also according to that Shita.
Just a question on Rabbi Yesi's halacha that Dibura, a shliach can't give over to another shliach. But we have the case when a shliach is getting sick, he can give the shlichus over to another shliach. How does that fit? How does that jive with Rabbi Yesi's halacha?
Oh, we did have that, right? We had that if he's sick, that he's able to give it over. That's if it's an object, not if it's words. If it's an object, he doesn't disagree. If it's word, that's where he says that you can't give it over.
Okay.
I think tomorrow we'll do probably just Yerushalmi just to catch up.
Okay. Excellent. Tomorrow's 15 to 10.
All right. Okay. Take care, everybody. Have a great day.